Now, right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is your New American Perspective. I'm your host, Jania Butler, and of course, we got our co-host, A.B. Butler with the G-Check coming in. What's up, cousin? How you doing today? Can't hear you. Are you there? Can we hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Summer cold, summer cold, summer cold.
Summer cold. We don't do that over here. So you telling me that the heat in New York City right now has led you to the sniffles?
The heat.
Are we there? He's having some trouble over there. So while he's having that trouble and coming back to tell us about the
Summer.
heat, how are you today? Huh?
I'm going to say the heat running out the building when it's cold, the AC running back in, running back out, running back in, and catch up to you.
That's called a G-check, sir. That's called a G-check. That's what you don't.
That's called a heat check.
Yeah,
the cold
check. I got your heat check. Well, you got to pay attention to that too. So people, remember when you've got you don't want to have nothing to do with this 100-degree weather, and you want your room temperature to be 65 and between 65 and 70, and then you run outside into the 100-degree weather, and then you catch this cold that they got going around right now.
Cold.
You got to enjoy the heat. Let's enjoy the heat, people. I love the heat. I'm a heat baby.
Me too.
I love the heat. I want to be outside. I don't want the winter to come back that fast. Okay, we just got out of it. We just got out the cold. We just got out the snow. So don't be talking about our heat up in here, okay? And that's a G-check, good people, from around the world. Thank you for sharing the sun. Okay, so let's get right into it. Last week, I'm sure that you missed us. We weren't on last week, but we missed you. We definitely did. And we've got so much to talk about today because we got a compound of 2 weeks worth of stuff. President Trump on the loose. We're out here. This is a G-check. This is your New American Perspective. So let's get into it. Let's get right into New York City. Have you heard the news, cousin? Have you heard the news of what's going on? New York City is looking to change itself, and it proved so last night in the mayoral Democratic election. Did you hear what happened?
No, I was asleep. I had a cold, so I've been under the bed.
Okay, well, Mom Dami, remember we had fun with his name before, Mom Dami? Zorhan Mom Dami has beat Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary. Okay, so proof that it can be done. Now, this is amazing. It's historical. He got people out. He broke all kinds of numbers. He really did the work and really put it in. Now, his campaign was only 8 months long. And it was only, so most people need more time and more money. Like, because where is he getting the money from? We got that 8-1 in New York City, but where is he getting his money from? And where did he come up? But the New Yorkers unanimously rejected former Governor Andrew Cuomo for the mayor race, the Democratic mayor race. Now, before we get into it, let's understand that Cuomo can run in November on the independent line alongside of Eric Adams. Okay, so we haven't heard whether he's stepping totally out the race. Now, if you ask me, he's not going to give up all that money, cousin. You understand what I'm saying? That he's going to go until November and collect that 8-1 until November. Makes sense, right? That's the G-check. We talking about OGs here, right?
Oh,
So
G. Yeah.
now, huh?
No, that's a G check.
Yeah, that's an absolute G check. So now Mom Dami, who is the front runner, he came out, he's got all these youth voters, he's got it, but he's a socialist. Okay, so he's a democratic socialist. So what that means is that he wants to give everybody free stuff. So now, cousin, this might be your kind of candidate. I'm not sure. But he's talking about everything that you have been talking about when it comes to what we need in New York City. He's saying New York City needs to be affordable for the New Yorker. He's saying that we need to get together. There need to be free buses, $30 minimum wage, cousin, okay, in New York City, so people can work 8 hours and not
And
have
get
to work a
something. And
second
get
job.
something.
Hmm?
Where they could get something in their pockets. The rent go up, but the money don't go up.
Right. And so he's saying that. So, but there's a group that is outraged at the fact that he has suggested all this. He wants city-owned grocery stores. Now, my man John Catsimatidis is having a fit with that, okay? He wants city-owned grocery stores to give free food out to people, and he wants a rent freeze. He wants a $30 an hour minimum wage, free bus rides, universal health care. Okay, now that all sounds good.
It sound good. It sound like a good G check. That sound like a good G check.
It was G enough to get him the Democratic nomination. But now here's the thing: who is gonna pay for that?
Well, we already know who's gonna pay for all that. Who you think?
He's telling the people, listen, our government will pay for this, our government will pay for that. And so now a lot of New Yorkers are saying you'll go bankrupt. Because think about this, okay? You got Back in the Game Entertainment, right? So now, right now in New York, the minimum wage is $15 an hour. So in order for you to hire somebody and pay them to do work, it's $15 an hour. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. But for me, as a young entrepreneur that is trying to build business, right? $15 an hour is a lot. Now, when you go to $30 an hour and you've got to start off paying people $30 an hour, what do you think that's going to do to the businesses?
Well, listen, they got transit, $30 an hour. They got this and that, $30 an hour, $40 an hour. It'll pan out. You know what I mean?
Wait, should you walk into McDonald's and somebody is making $30 an hour?
Why not? But you got to remember this. Working at McDonald's, it's like, it's a lot of work. Trust me. You got the crackheads in there. You got the hardheads coming there. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's nasty people coming there. It's a lot of work. They not really looking at what's going on. But it's a lot of headaches coming in McDonald's.
So $30 an hour's worth of headaches. Now, I want you to think about the business that has to foot that bill. Even a McDonald's who has to pay every worker $30 an hour. Does that really work? Can you say, okay, you want to hire 10 people, you got to pay them $30 an hour to work 8 hours a day? We also have to think about the small business.
Yeah. So McDonald's is not a small business.
Well, okay.
That's a G check. It's not a small business.
Okay.
McDonald's around the globe, around the world.
Right.
So it's not a small business. But I'm saying is you got suggested prices, you got tolls, you got the train, you got the tickets, you got the new thing they doing now. They putting the speed camera on the highway, not on the highway. Come on now. Cut it, please. G-check, please cut it.
I don't know who we have for that because that's extra because it's just ridiculous in New York City right now. Now, the real question, the real G-check is, will Mayor Adams win? And did he make the right move? Is he official OG by dropping out the Democratic primary. So what he did when he did that is he dropped out all the rhetoric. Nobody said nothing bad to him about nothing because he wasn't in a debate. He wasn't on that line. He's going to November no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but Adams, he's actually very smart. And I'm going to give you a G check for that, Mayor Adams, because now you had this guy, Mamdani, get Cuomo out the race, where I think that if the race was between Cuomo and Adams, Cuomo would have won. That's what Cuomo came into the race for, was to be Mayor Adams. Let's be clear. Okay, we don't know about Mamdani. He's a state he's a state senator, 7 years in New York. We don't know about him. We don't know about his pizzazz. He's only 33 years old. Now I am
Some fresh blood. We need some fresh blood
we
in
do
them.
need fresh blood, but how fresh do we need it? He doesn't know New York like we know New York. So does New York need a whole new cascade, a whole new takeaway? They're also saying that this is a Muslim who is heavily against Israel. So now the Jews in New York don't play no games. Okay, so they're feeling some type of way about the 400,000+ people that went out and voted for this man yesterday. It was a lot of early voting. 150,000 went and early voted, so that is working. Okay, but Mayor Adams, who's now going to meet Mamdani in November, who's now going to meet the Republican nominee Curtis Sewa in November, has a standing chance. Now, he didn't have to spend any money either, Mayor Adams. You understand? He did not have to spend a boatload of money for this upcoming primary. So he's out of it. He's got his money. He didn't sued the city for his 8-1. Okay, so he's trying to get his lump sum and run into victory. Now, the reason why he's such a G with this, and I'll give it to you. I have problems with Mayor Adams, but I'll give him this. The reason why he's such a G in this is because he got Cuomo out, right? So Cuomo is not the problem no more. The people have already rejected Cuomo. He got him out, right? Then now he's cruising to November. He's got his money intact. This is all G stuff right here. He's got his money intact, and now he knows what the people want. But what Mayor Adams is also doing is he's doing the work while he's in office now. So he's putting in laws. So he just introduced a business district in East Harlem. So he's doing this stuff. And so quietly, like you're saying, cousin, you're saying that, hey, they're about to put the highway signs up and get that money too. Now, Mayor Adams, this is where, but now the Jewish and everybody that hated him don't want this guy who they think is a terrorist coming in and being the mayor of New York and creating New York into a socialist town. And although it sounds good, people, I don't think that we necessarily want this. What's the G check here, cousin?
Well, what do we want? You know what I mean? What do we really want? We really want the city to run like it been running. You know what I mean? Back in the days,
And which era is that? When are you talking about?
I'm talking about the era where affordable housing. When do you start paying coming into New York City? We already paying to come across Jersey. Come on, where? I just want to know, and this is a big G check. I need somebody on here to reach out to the New American in the G chat and answer this question. What is they doing with all this money? You know what I mean? You got the tickets. You got the road. It's so much. I just need an answer. That's all.
Okay, well, let me tell you, I don't know what they're doing with the money. What they say that they're doing with the money. I can say what they say that they're doing with the money.
Subway.
But what they are doing is, so in May, congestion pricing, one of your pet peeves. In May, they collected $61 million from the congestion pricing from people just going in to Manhattan to 60th Street. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in April, it was 56.7 million. So that means people are saying, the hell with it. I got to go in the congestion zone and I got to pay. Right. So they're collecting 61 million altogether so far since January 5th. The program has generated $219 million, and they're on track to meet their goal way before it to a $500 million. So their goal was for $500 million, and that money goes, it's the MTA. So that money goes to MTA improvement. So they are trying to push us beyond belief to just ride the train. And that's it. You shouldn't want to be in a car. You should only want to be in a train, because even a train is not even really affordable if you really look at it.
Listen, they keep going up on every year. It's just like when they go up on the tolls, the bus, the train. So where's we benefiting from? You know what I mean? Just think about it, people. Just take a moment and think about this. No matter how much they go up, up, where do we benefit from this? So let's start on the subway. You want us to ride the train. The trains are still dirty. They got the crackheads, the bums laying on the train, sleeping on the train. You got the thug bros. You got the thug dudes on there. Want to take 2 seats in their bags. So you got people, you can't stand up for somebody getting bullied on the train because you're going to get charged if you hurt that person. So at the end of the day, this is a big G check. Where do we benefit from all of this? From everything y'all say, we going to make it better for the people. It's never better for the people. It's breaking the people. If you care about the people, if you really care about the people, really talk to the people, not the people that is in the same class you in, that you already straight, you already made 6 digits, you're taking care, you got a company car, y'all ain't getting charged for nothing. How do we benefit from it?
Well, don't answer that yet, people. We're going to come right back with that. We want to hear from you at us, at Jania Butler, at AB Butler 914, at us, and tell us, how do we benefit and how do you feel about Mamdani winning the Democratic primary? We're going to come right back here on Millennium News 24 with the New American Perspective and your weekly G-Check. We will be back. And we are back with the New American Perspective. Your host, Jania Butler, my co-host, AB Butler with the G-Check. And we're wondering, how is all of this money that New York City is collecting helping you? How is it helping your bottom line? Now, yesterday, people got out in the Democratic primary and they, it is what it is. They did what they did. They voted who they voted in. Now, there's a new comptroller. We still have the Bronx Borough president, Vanessa Gibson. You got Reynoso in Brooklyn. There's a new Manhattan Borough president. I haven't heard from him yet. And so people did win, and voting does count. But how is it helping you? Now, let me just bring up that this guy, Mamdani, because I had to do a little research. I said, this 33-year-old dude that's captivated New York and took New York by storm and may be the next mayor of New York City. Now, like I said, Mayor Adams has a road to climb, but he's still working, and his platform and his strategy may be working in his favor, because now people are saying, I hate Mayor Adams, but I don't want this guy in here, and they say that this guy is anti-Semitic. I haven't heard or seen that part, and I think, let me say something about the anti-Semitism in the United States, because I believe that all people should live and have a chance to live. And of course, we'll talk about what happened over in Iran and everything, and what's going on over there with Israel, because Israel was fighting with Palestine, and they seem to kind of jump on Palestine, and everybody's talking about whether the Palestinian people have a right to live. And I think they do have a right to live. And I think that the Jewish people of America and of the world are very strong in their beliefs. Now, they believe that they are, God's kept secret, the one that we're talking about in the Bible. They believe that they are those people, as they should believe. God is talking
I
about
know I'm
somebody.
that people. I know I'm that
Okay, yeah,
person.
that's what I'm saying. And I think that we all are referenced, whether it's that reference or other references in the Bible or whatever you believe. I think that we're all referenced, and I think that we all should have equal opportunity under God to live and be free. Now, so I believe that people, anti-Semitism needs to be curbed a little bit, because it feels like, anybody says anything against a Jew. Well, let me get to going about the Black people, because at the end of the day, you might want to call me a Black nationalist. And that's not because I hate other people, it's because I believe in my people so well, right? And I believe that, we should all focus on our races. I believe that. Now, do I believe one race is bigger than the other? I believe one race has more money than the other, more power than the other. And so let's just go right into this Iran bombing. So Trump, another big bomb. Trump is cursing and cussing and fussing on the TV, and he's talking about, that Iran and Israel been fighting for so long. He said they don't know what they're doing, right? So he went on national TV cursing. He said the F word. He gave him the F bomb. Boom. He gave him the F bomb. He G-checked them because Trump went ahead without Congress's approval. Now, when we go to war, do any kind of act of war, you're supposed to go to the table of Congress, the 534 servicemen in Congress. You're supposed to go to the table in Congress, and you're supposed to say, listen, I think that we need to go ahead and move on this. Now, Pete Hegseth, who was accused of giving away secrets a little while ago, he kept this secret, okay? He kept this one. And Pete Hegseth, what he did is he told Trump, he said, listen, we got to bomb Iran. So they sent 3 bombs over to their nuclear facilities, no casualties, civilian casualties. I don't know about any other casualties, but I know that they're trying to stay away from bombing civilians, but now put us into the controversy of what's going on with Iran. And so a lot of people are saying, we don't need to spend our money doing that. What do you think about that, Cousin G? Check it.
Let me G-check it, you know what I mean? Like I always say, for somebody that live next door to you, that been seeing your house before you moved on that block, every time somebody new come on that block, they want to go in that same house. This is a G-check. You ain't got nothing to do with it. Mind your business. Mind your business. Because at the end of the day, what you're going to create, we create these wars, right? Walk around New York City and you see these people laying on the street. Those are the people before us sat down, fought wars for America.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They can't find nowhere to live. They can't get taken care of, nothing. We look at them on the side of the street, man, why this bum keep begging us? But at the end of the day, you fighting for this country, as you said, is yours, but it's really not yours. You know what I mean? At the moment, they're going to play like it's yours because they giving you these benefits or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think when these governors, these mayors, these presidents, when they had these problems with one another. They need to take it out on them, because at the end of the day, you got the kids over there. They ain't got nothing to do with it. Don't know nothing, but they suffering. And that's the same thing in every other country. The little kids, the ladies, the mothers, the babies, they ain't got nothing to do with this. It don't matter what they gonna grow up to be, whatever. But they don't look at it that way. You know what I mean? So me personally, this is a G check. You ain't got nothing to do with it. Mind your business.
Okay, now that is a good G check, and that's what a lot of people are saying in America. They're saying, listen, what are we doing? But they're saying, listen, we don't want Iran, who's a sworn USA enemy, American enemy. We don't want them to get nuclear bombs. You know, we don't want them to be able to house nuclear bombs. So that's why Trump jumped in. Now, he also arranged a ceasefire. Now, he G-checked the situation. He said, look, y'all don't know what the fuck y'all doing. And then he G-checked the situation. He said, we're going to sit down for a ceasefire. So now, he's at NATO right now, right? He's at the NATO conference, and he's supposed to be talking about having a meeting with Iran next week on this ceasefire and the deal that he's going to make. Now, America has always been a supreme power and been in the middle of all of this business. So now, do we pull out knowing that we've got, you know, we've got the best and the brightest? Do we pull out all this stuff?
You gotta remember, back in them days where we say, yeah, America run things. Listen, the way social media got the power, not the American. Because guess what? Everybody see what's going on, because guess what? Everybody talking about what they going to do. It's no more sneak attacks. It's already put it on the news. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
But see,
so they already know. They already know they coming.
That's why Trump didn't put it on the news. That's why Trump didn't go through Congress, because he didn't want everybody telling and everything. It was a sneak attack. He snuck up on him, and he got what he needed to get. And he did exactly what you're saying that they can't do, but they can do it if they keep their mouth shut. And that was Trump's point. Now, let me just say, so Representative Al Green drew up some articles of impeachment. Okay, so you know Trump has been impeached 2 times before. Okay, so he's been impeached 2 times before in his last administration, right? And he's been impeached 2 times before. So Representative Al Green, I don't know if you remember Al Green, love and happiness. No, it's not the same guy, but.
Got the grits on him.
Yeah, with the grits. He got the grits on him. This Al Green actually got thrown out of Congress not too long ago, a few months back, you know, yelling and screaming at Trump, and they pulled him off the floor. So he's feeling some type of way. So he puts out these articles of impeachment. But get this, cousin, ready for the G check. Now, right now, up until now, all of the people have been, all of the Democrats have been voting. When Democrats put something on, they vote Democrat. When the Republicans put something up, they vote Republican. That's why the big, beautiful bill hasn't got passed, because everybody's voting down their lines. Now, Al Green puts out this articles of impeachment, and guess what? 128 Democrats voted against it. So they voted against having these articles of impeachment and impeaching Trump. So they said, nah, this is divisive. This is not for right now. So they said no. So even the speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, who is in Brooklyn, so our Brooklyn representative, BK all day, okay? Even Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn, who is the whip, okay? They said, no, not now. We're not looking to impeach Trump. And these are Democrats. So these Democrats joined the Republicans and said, no, 128 of them. So they said, no, not now, Al, not now.
Well, you know why?
Why is that?
If they do that, guess who come back in the house? What's the female?
Who?
What was the female won the presidency?
Who? Kamala?
Yeah.
What you mean that she comes back? She's gone. She doesn't have any say in this administration. She's out.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good one. They said no. They said no, not at all. We're not having it. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna stay on track right now. We're gonna go to a quick break on the New American Perspective. Hope you're enjoying this. I missed you. So much to talk about. We're gonna go to a quick break here on the New American Perspective Millennium News 24. 24 hours,
24 carats.
24/7. Shout out to Noor. Shout out to the engineer team. We're going to go to a break real quick, and I'll be back with my co-host, A.B. Butler, on the G-Check.
Hey.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen to America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
And we are back.
Back.
New American Perspective and your G-Check here on Millennium News 24. We missed you. We missed you. We missed you. And so let's get into some fun stuff. Let's get
Hold on, G-Check.
Sure.
Did y'all miss us last weekend? Leave it in the comments.
We know you did. I missed you too. So now look, let's talk about this. We got a couple, as I say, they're fun, but listen, so P. Diddy, okay, you know, he's on trial. Now, the prosecution and the defense wrapped yesterday. So they wrapped up. The defense had a 30-minute defense. They said, Your Honor, we're not calling any witnesses to the table. So they didn't call any witnesses. They're going on what the prosecutors, they're not giving the prosecutors anything to go off of, right? You know, so they're just with it. So they said, look, they wrapped. We're not calling any witnesses. We'll go on the case that you presented. And Diddy stood up yesterday and he said, you know, thank you, Your Honor. I think you're doing a great job. Diddy had to tell the court that he was not testifying on his own behalf and that it was his, it was up to him. And, you know, he knew what he was doing when he did not testify. So now the jury, they said the jury gasped like, oh, y'all ain't got no defenses. This dude is not testifying. They wanted to have their popcorn for a little while longer, I think, you know. But so now here's the great news in Diddy's favor. I'm assuming that it's great news, but they dropped the state charges, 3 major charges on Puffy's behalf, and that was the arson. They dropped the arson, the kidnapping, and a couple other things. Which you remember, your girl Capricorn Clark was talking about. She got kidnapped. So somehow they believe you in saying that she was a liar because they dropped the charges on her. I mean, on him. The state charges that were like the violence charges, were all those charges where they had to sit back and say, okay, Diddy, are you a monster? And so now they're just kind of going on the, you know, the sex trafficking and the federal charges. Now, again, there's word that the state may be picking up these additional charges. And sometimes they do that. I've heard people say, I've dropped the charges and G-check this, because I've heard people say that they got a Fed case and they got a state case, and all of a sudden the feds drop the state charges and the state picks them up and runs with them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, G-check real quick, it's basically when you got two courts fighting to see who gonna give you the most time. Most of the time the feds win it. But with this case, they came with the feds and dropped some charges. Now they dropped the RICO charge. That's another charge they need to drop on him. But you know what I mean? He's fighting the feds right now. The state, you know what I mean? Everybody want to be famous. They need that moment. They need that moment.
Famous.
Yeah, they want that moment. That's all it is. You know what I mean? They want to keep him going in his pocket, because you gotta remember, the more he go to court, the more taxpayer we pay, and more money the lawyers get. So if the state pick it up, he gonna have to fight that, but he gonna prove the same thing he proved with the feds. You know what I mean? Because the feds is basically one of the hardest cases to beat. So they really, when they drop that means they really don't really have nothing on them, and they know it's not gonna stick. You know what I mean? Even though they could appeal this, and he could beat it in the appeal, so it don't matter either way. So that's what it is.
That's interesting. So what they dropped was the attempted kidnapping, the attempted arson, and the aiding sex trafficking.
Aiding and abetting, yeah.
Yep. And so they dropped those charges, so they're not there. Now they're saying that they did this because they need the jury to understand, what they need to be charging him with, and that just makes it more difficult. Now that was their excuse for it. We don't know. Maybe that's the case, or maybe that isn't the case. But it seems like they said, look, they're arguing their cases today. No trial for the jury. They'll be back tomorrow where they'll give their closing arguments. They have 4 hours apiece. The prosecution and the defense, they have 4 hours apiece to give their closing arguments. And then they go into Friday where the jury starts deliberating and starts asking, the jury to sit back and go over, these guidelines of whether he is guilty or not.
Well, they understand RICO charge. They already know that they're not going to find that man guilty on no RICO charge. They know that.
Well,
unless cuz is a G-check. They make rules just for us.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And it's sad that when they make rules for us, just for us, that people look like us. But it's sad.
Well, it is sad. And this is a pure G-check, because I've always stood by the fact that they were, ripping Diddy's his $1 billion, and they were ripping him down to the very last compound and taking everything he had. And I really think this was just a whole demonstration. Shout out to Hood Educated for the demonstration. But I think this was a whole demonstration just to show how nasty and such a sexual deviant that Puff Diddy is, and to force other people to stop from working with him as they're taking his money away. And so that's what I believe. I mean, there's some laws against, how you have sex and what you do and how you do it and stuff like that.
Why? Let me ask you a question. This is a G-check. Why only make laws for us? Because if you look at it, yeah.
That's
same way we
have to look at that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And hate to bring it up. It's like, look at it. Now all of a sudden, every rapper now got RICO charge. Look at they trying to get my man Fat Joe
Yeah, we're going to
a
talk about
RICO
that.
charge.
Let's talk about
You
that.
know,
Run right into that. How do you feel about that? You know, I know this
but
is a
but
touchy situation for you. How do you feel about that?
well, the way I feel about it is like every time you turn around and you say you believe in our people, we turn around as our people. We turn around and burn each other for greed. You know what I mean? It's like this man work, 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 work. You turn around, you have a hater that say he was his hype man, feel that he's not getting what he deserve or what he want, and dudes don't want to work no more. Everybody want a lawsuit something. It won't surprise, cuz, that they won't come and say, oh, Jania Butler did this to me.
Oh no, no.
AB
I
did
said,
this
oh my
to me.
God, I gotta walk on eggshells out here.
You know what I mean? You never know. It's like these days right now, it's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who's next? You know what I mean? It's like dudes that look like us trying to bring somebody else down that look like us. Because you hating because he winning. You know, we need to start locking them dudes up when they start coming saying this, because at the end of the day, I know my man.
Mm-hmm.
My man be with his wife, his kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to say this and that and this and that, when do he have the time? His wife with him all the time. His daughter
Well,
with him.
this is now. Listen, now what I you know, and I know you're gonna stick up for your guy, as you should, you know. And shout out to Fat Joe. He was on, you know, he was one of our guests here on the show for a quick minute. And but let's be reasonable, cuz okay, let's really
Mm-hmm.
G-check this. And this is not
Mm-hmm.
really so much about Fat Joe, but more so about the entertainment industry that we all know and love. And so what let me just go into a little bit about what his hype man TA is accusing him of.
Okay.
Because you know, he's saying, first of all, he's saying, first and foremost, like you said, he's saying, like, look, I Fat Joe owes me money for me being his hype man. He underpaid me. He still owes me money. You know, uh, what's going on? He owes me money. I want my money. There's that one part, right?
Okay.
Then he's talking about that he was having sex with minors, and you know, there was a 15 16-year-old girl that they were all messing with and everything like that he got a BBL for, and they're saying another 14-year-old girl coming up. Now, what the part that I want to bring up, and the part that I want to be real about, is that the hip hop community hasn't been good with young girls, kids, and all the sex that's going on. And so I feel like, and I always feel like, it could be, you know, somebody that you didn't realize was underage that slipped through. I was a young girl that, you know, I didn't really get with anybody, but I was a young girl that was in the club at 15 years old. And so I think that what we miss is the fact that, no, with Fat Joe, you know, knowingly just walk up to a 15-year-old girl the same age of his daughter or less and say, hey, you know, come over here with us. But with the how hip hop has been over the years, right? And this is not
Mm-hmm.
right now. This is not the
Mm-hmm.
Fat Joe we see today. I think this would be pre-Fat Joe tax. He went to jail for tax invasion, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that he's talking somewhere in there. But hip hop has been that. Hip hop has been excruciating about, you know, how they brought women in, how we always talk about, you know, how the music glorifies the violence. And they say, he even says in one of his lyrics that one of the girls was 16 years old. And again, and I'm not throwing shade on Fat Joe, I'm just saying the hip hop community has put us into this predicament, this precarious place, to where, what, you know, we can't act like this, nobody did nothing and everybody's lying.
So let me say this, cuz this is a G check. if homeboy saying all this happened, right? All he said he was there when he did this to
Right.
15-year-old, right?
Hmm.
My dude, you should be locked up yourself because you sat right there. So first of all, how did you know this girl's 15 years old? Unless you had conversation with the girl and you probably lined it up. You get where I'm coming from? Because you telling the world, oh, he did this to a 15-year-old. How did you know the girl's 15 years old?
We said that they were all in a room at one point, and I don't remember whether it was
But what I'm saying is, even though he said
in.
we was all in a room together, that means he's conspiracy of that 15-year-old girl. You know what I mean? Because you can't just say, oh yeah, she 15. Because you got to remember, when I used to run around, I looked like I was 9 years old in the club. But at the end of the day, these dudes out here, the way they operating and how they moving now, they can say anything out their mouth just to get a check.
Mhm.
That's all this is. This is all, it ain't about no respect, no disrespect, or whatever. All this is about how can I eat and get my pockets fat over somebody else?
I believe that this is the time. But do you
Yeah.
agree that there has been some crazy stuff that has happened in hip hop during the time that may be suspect when it comes to the law?
Okay, let me say this. We can say this, right? Even though I wasn't home for it, the Freaknik, right?
Big
Let's
time.
go to the
I
Freaknik.
used to go to the Freaknik. Okay.
Let's go to the Freaknik, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in Atlanta. You know what I mean? It's so many females. If you go back and look at who got the footage of that camera,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably a bunch of 13-year-old, 15-year-olds, 16 years old. And at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
I say this, right? If your daughter 15 years old and she look like she 19, 18, you understand what I'm saying? You got to control that. Your daughter shouldn't be around no man, a grown man. But these little girls these days is so fast. They fast. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So it's no different than a 15-year-old girl, 15-year-old boy. It's a lot of 15-year-old boys women take advantage of, but you don't hear that.
Right.
Because you don't hear, oh yeah, this grown woman took it. She didn't care. Because guess what? The girls ain't telling on the girls. But the dudes they ain't got nothing better else to do but tell on people just to try to get a check. You know what I mean? You're not looking at, oh man, I'm destroying this man's family and his meal. If he didn't have that money he was getting, doing what he's doing now, you wouldn't be hearing his name. That's why I say it's nothing but haters out here. Everything you do, it's a bunch of haters out here. I don't know where my cousin went, but yeah, but like I say, I'm gonna stick with my man because I know him. He's not gonna mess with no baby. He got kids of his own. That's just like me, messing with a 15-year-old girl. It's a bunch of dudes out here do that, but I can't see my man on that level. But it's a lot of hate. When you start winning, when you start coming up over the barrel, everybody come out. Everybody come out. So listen, I don't know where my cousin went, the co-host. Somebody must have called her. But yeah, well, with the RICO charge, P. Diddy, they're gonna have to drop the RICO charge because it's really not a RICO charge. What's next, cuz? I don't know what happened to her. She jumped off. Well, we're gonna go to this commercial and we'll be right back with the new American. My co-host A.B. Butler and Jania Butler. I don't know. I don't know where she went. Just waiting for her to come back, people. Where we keep talking, she got all the information. That's a G check.
And we are back. I'm so sorry about that. I disappeared and couldn't get back into the zone, into the matrix. But
See,
A.B. Butler, he held it down.
that's
And
what happened talking
gave
about lawyer dudes. You know what I mean? See, when you talk about Fat Joe, they shut everything down. But let's talk about Jim Jones.
So you said, yeah, let's talk about Jim Jones right quick. So Jim Jones, I don't know if
Oh,
he just
man.
suicide balling. How long ago was that, Jim? Okay, so Jim Jones just said that he is more influential than Nas. And I think that people might have misconstrued how he said that, but he said that he is more influential than Nas Escobar. Okay, right now Nas got about $100 million. He sold I believe Coinbase. He was in the sale of another TV station. So he's making a lot of money. And Nas has now Nas is doing people's albums. Okay. Now Nas is together doing the people's albums. So now Jim says I'm more influential than Nas. And so everybody, now he didn't got into a fight with Shannon Sharp. Okay. He went on Shannon Sharp's show, Nightcap, with Chad Ochocinco. And he said, Shannon said, come in here a little bit, Jim.
Young man.
You smoke weed, right? He says, was you smoking when you said that you was better than Nas? So Jim had a conniption fit on that. He was like, oh, I am more influential than Nas. Oh, I might have messed up the numbers. And his numbers, his numbers don't say it, right? If you look at his numbers, and I'll put up on the screen. If you look at his numbers, you're not even close to a Nas, right? But you're over here talking about you are. Now he's saying that his son don't know who Nas is or his hottest records, and they probably don't. But that's what legends mean, Jim. That's why Nas is a legend. Nas has 9 million monthly subscribers. Jim has 800,000. There's no comparison. Nas has $100 million. They saying Jim got $10 million. I don't think that he has $10 million. I know he don't got $10 million, but whatever, for the face of it, right? And so, what are we talking about here when we say stuff like that? When people jump out and they're all of a sudden big like Jim Jones and talk.
Let me G-check that. What Jim is probably saying is basically you'll see Jim everywhere. You might see him in the club, you might see him in the street, you might see him in Harlem, you might see him here, you might see him there. That's what he's talking about. You know what I mean? You might see him He feel he drip every way he changed the outlook, the way kids dressing.
Right.
That's what he talking about. You know what I mean? I can't say record wise, this and that, but when he say that, that's just like. Let me say this. Let me clear it up for you, Jim. Me, I'm not a rapper. I'm not a singer. I'm not a football player. I'm not an actor. I'm none of that. I'm well known than a bunch of dudes are actors, basketball players, football players, or whatever. You know what I mean? You might see me everywhere. You know, more than you might see. Like I see AI. I see your AI. Everybody say we look at. He's like, yeah, you should be thankful. I said, nah, you should be thankful. You know what I mean? But I understand what he's saying. He's outside, basically what he's saying.
Okay. And that makes sense. And that gives him more credit. Now he's fighting. Now he's going on a strength match with Shannon Sharp. Now, since Shannon has gotten to his trouble, he's been, a bully, and we see the true Shannon Sharp out now, because before it was that nice Shannon. Now he like, yo, you want to do it? We'll do it any way that you can. So shout out to Shannon Sharp for being a gangster and getting gangster and giving Jim Jones a well-deserved G-check. But Jim, he's going to do his, he does his pull-ups and things of that nature. And then lastly, we have to talk about is Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj just accused Rock Nation of getting in her way and trying to get her out the way, not only because of her support for Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, who happened to be in Paris doing N-words in Paris at the Beyonce concert, and then showing up to the Pharrell concert. The Pharrell Louis Vuitton fashion show with him and his wife after they did all of that, right? So after they did that, now Nicki Minaj is saying that she supported Desiree Perez's. Now, if we know Desiree Perez, she's the head of Rock Nation, and she's also a government informant, I guess a respected government informant, right? Because she's the head of Rock Nation, and that's like the head of music and, whatever. And so Desiree Perez doesn't like her daughter's husband, so she tried to get her institutionalized because she didn't like her daughter's husband. And so they arrested the daughter's husband, and then they had to give him the police arrested him because Desiree Perez sent some officers in what it seemed like, and he was innocent, and they participated in it. And now Nicki Minaj tweeted justice for them, which is Desiree's daughter. And now she's saying Rock Nation is going after her because of Lil Wayne not doing the halftime show in New Orleans and the beef that they've had with Jay-Z over time. And let me just say this too. I think Jay-Z is going to do, or looking to do, the halftime show for this next NFL season for himself. I think that's why he popped out. Jay-Z is very right and exact. He was at the Fanatics Fest. He comes out now. He's sparingly and making it look like he's big dog in charge of everything. But his money is that, basically pimp Beyonce out. Let me say that. You don't got nothing to say about it, cousin?
I don't think he pimped nobody out. You know what I mean? Jay is Jay. You know what I mean? He moves the way he moves. You got to respect it. Okay. That's a G-check right there. He come out like I come out. You know what I mean? You see me, I'm in the building. I'm always in the cut. He's the same exact way, big.
He's not always in the building, though. He's only sometimes when he wants to pop out and act like a big dog, he pops out. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that is our show for this week. I want you guys to tune in. Let us know that you're tuning in. Let us know that you love the show here on Millennium News 24. We're going to do a second show, so it's just dedicated to the G-Check, dedicated to the New American, and talk more about it. But we got to hear from you. You got to help us. You got to subscribe on our YouTube. You got to, follow us on Instagram and follow Millennium News 24 on all of their platforms, because they are putting us out to the world. And world, I want to say thank you for tuning in. That is our show for today, for this week. And we will definitely see you next week, God willing. Shout out to you, cousin. Thanks for joining us today and giving your, expert opinion on everything that's going on in the world, in America. And this is your New American Perspective with your G-Check. And we'll see you next week.